Dr. Clement Apaak, VMate Sharp, Bokodia.
Sharp, Major so.
Koye.
Nyamia me koye na ho kire na wo ho. Yati ase de. You know say dan ajenkwa no. Obeba abaji yan.
But my first question to you would be, sir, so we share attached document or the can or post ne hona. And a document from the 2021 Auditor-General'S report. Part 1, summary of findings and recommendations. Presented in the table 1 is the financial impact of these irregularities according to their nature. And it was a summary of financial irregularities for the period ended 31st December 2021. Social irregularities maybe are outstanding debtors, loans recoverables, due from customers for power sales, that's COVID-19 and others, cash irregularities, payroll irregularities, procurement irregularities, tax irregularities, stores irregularities, and a contract irregularities. Ninyina na directly esika akodi nkofo ho ana ebinom ye ebia breaches be a result in BB. For you to call on the Auditor General say on sign konkoji esika no emra.
Yo obi medase. It is important say you be tuja. Say two documents na medi aka masem no. This is only one aspect. And we are speaking about public boards, corporations, and other statutory institutions. Yenyanfa ministries, departments, and agencies, dear enka Yenyanfa pre-tertiary educational institutions, secondary schools, enka Yenyanfa technical universities, dear enka and yenyanfa municipal, metropolitan, and district assemblies, common fund, any IGF, enka But be as it may, when quite yedika semino, emrano ewoho, say auditors no at the end of the year in question, year ending 31st December 2020, on the year audit now, Wamo Makwine, Sir Oma Bedi, Sir institution no ho, maybe 1 week, 2 weeks. Wamo we are, they have what they call the exit conference. Where sir, when we aim providing evidence to justify Juma Abansika Yabiasha Munsemono Odiaye Emran na ma kwine say and a fire. Usa so emre 1 month. Sir, evidence no. Say share baby and answer baby. You can make that evidence available to the Auditor General. In which case, you will not be cited for any of the infractions that working kind actually. And before you are cited in the report, then the auditors are convinced, say, BB Atochima, and that is the only time that you will be cited. But the entire Mashada Abbo Auditor General Dean, and say, in fact, Bakumine Ekremono, Occupy Ghana, Echo Court, and a court, Supreme Court, Eka say, the Auditor General has the powers, says Obi, and to me, Ebun Kunta, another one to me, evidence. Not a citation for a particular infraction. The Auditor General, Ebet Miaka said, Esan said, when to me and provide evidence either in the form of logbooks, perhaps in the area of fueling, vehicles at a secondary school, and also a ministry, and also PVs. So went me and provided PVs to justify particular expenditures and also payments one make it. And also went to me and get 3 quotations as is required by the Public Procurement Act.
Okay.
Now I could procure. They can disallow that expenditure. Now the one above. So pay back those money. You have the option of challenging that disallowance and surcharging in a court of law. But the Auditor General has the powers to activate those powers. And that is where many of us, we are disappointed with the conduct of the current Auditor General, Johnson Ekuamoisidu. Because Emmanuel Emma to me say you can surcharge. So why are you refusing to activate these powers that have been granted? And will be a nyamin kwa. So that can 32 civil society organizations plus Occupy Ghana and 10 prominent Ghanaian citizens, including the likes of Samson Ladi Ayin Nomune Shami Manomo. They have written to the police indicating that they want to picket, essentially, a demonstration around the office of the Auditor General. Said the entire Adena Onfa Samray Enyejuma. Abra Yenim said the no woho. But the Samray Juma and make me 66 million. So once it is true, say every infraction and a warranty the use of disallowance and surcharging. No, there are many instances in all of these categories of the audits that have been conducted by Onuana Sweye and co-activate this power to disallow and surcharge. Sikano Dudwana Ako Kama Yentumi account no. Nkebeba beti aban efutuom. So why is he refusing to activate powers that are available to him in the public interest? And Obi, I have argued that because of that failure, no, you see that in the 2020 audit reports of the same institutions, no, versus the 2021, no, rather than some of these unaccounted for public funds going down, no, they are rather going up. Because if we be anyhow, among himself, but he ought to be the first line of defense and of retrieving public resources. Answer now, report to the deep parliament in some Amayen Public Accounts Committee. They are caught now say up to 2 amano. So the Auditor General, by not activating these powers,
hello, Doc. Hello. Yeah, Doc. Oteminka. Too bad. Would have to re-establish contact with Dr. Clement Apaak. Na yashesi yebenya ni biwa na yatwaso edi enkomo inti on. It's still on the Auditor General's report. Ene in semwa ebubu frimu eba inti munsha nenso emfama yen ekosi senso ne haya Sempa FM. If you've got any message, please come through with it. Na yenshen kain emfama unso very important. Inti you can come and let's get to hear you. Let me deal with some messages. Nafe yenshe entwas we say Obi, the disregard of due process and flaunting of laws are sometimes irritating, The Auditor General's report has revealed a lot of rot in the Finance Ministry as well as the judiciary from 2020 to 2021. When the candidate Akufo-Addo promised to protect the public purse, he literally meant to protect himself and his family and friends. Corruption is now like a social intervention. 1 week, one corruption. Musa Abatwa, Ewasawase. Yeah, Honorable.
Yeah, Obi.
Aha, into a humanity to Asomami.
To the point I'm making is that at the front end, the Auditor General ought to use these powers. Answer now about Parliament. Obi, let's be honest and truthful. In all of this, many wo any or my dream. Sometimes, it is the way our laws are crafted or the systems in place,
yes,
which allow for these kinds of occurrences to take place. Look, when him say when Domolovo was the Auditor General, he had a tendency of engaging Ghanaians, engaging the media, and putting some of these issues in the public domain. So that he even formed an alliance with Martin Hamidou, the then special prosecutor. And they had come up with a blueprint on how they were going to collaborate in holding entities and persons cited in the Auditor General's report. You notice that since the two gentlemen left the scene, we have gone back to square one. And I am not surprised that we are where we are. But I was talking about the rules and the laws because you have a system where the Constitution and the Mampeni to me emanate appointed Auditor General. But interestingly, the Auditor General is answerable to Parliament. Essentially, he's an employee of Parliament. And until we find ways to change the law, to take away the appointment of the Auditor General from the executive, which by and large is in charge of public expenditure, and to give that authority to Parliament, we would always get Auditor Generals who will be timid or afraid to shake the boat, so to speak. So I think going forward, as we are looking at all of these issues, we ought to advert our minds to the Constitution and to look at amending it so that the Auditor General will be appointed by Parliament and will be answerable as he is to Parliament, so that there wouldn't be the tendency for the Auditor General or for an Auditor General to feel that they have to work to protect the interests and or even avoid embarrassing his or her appointing authority. If you look at other jurisdictions,
yes,
the Public Accounts Committee have been given powers that allows them to cause the arrest and prosecution of persons who have been cited in the Auditor General's reports. Although the Public Accounts Committee has the powers of a high court, you need to me say you bet me amaya chiobi na yedeno akojina asembibia. And when we are done with our public hearings, report na electrono, and you speak on a report. Recommendations. Then the accordant speaker. Report is debated at the plenary and adopted. But after it has been adopted, it ought to be acted upon by the Attorney General, as far as I know. And that is another area where we have not been seeing action. But for the 8th Parliament, we have decided, from the 2019 auditor, report now, every infraction to do with procurement, a matter to do with procurement, straight away, we are recommending prosecution. And so the chair of the committee, the deputy minority leader, the Honorable James Kluche Abeji, has given the signal. Says the report for 2019 and going forward, will be adding other infractions. We will refer you for prosecution. He will be inviting the Attorney General to Parliament to tell us what action his office is taking to give effect to the recommendations as adopted by the plenary with regard to the work of the Public Accounts Committee. And the committee is doing its best, but we ought to be complimented at the front end by the Auditor General also using his power to disallow and surcharge. And that is why I am particular, like the 32 CSOs and other well-meaning citizens, including Occupy Ghana, in calling out the current Auditor General for disappointing us. Because as I said here, he is a public servant. So, the BIA Yesika, as the people of Ghana, Akoshe Bia, Yentumimbu Huakuntano, the water or ye, Emma Sikano Ebedi and Semono, and was a Utumia. And if he cannot do that, then he has no business carrying himself as the Auditor General because taxes and a and that is the point I seek to make.
Okay, I think it's clearer now on our point. But going through the report, and I would want to believe, say, or more directly, Sikabi anen was say kodi omunsema kwa kodi wonsem the surcharge should happen on them. Omunsoa ebia because some of the irregularities in the advance ebia wama contract. Yes, there was a contract, I had a contract, but maybe along the line in the process, some problem be by in that process, it will be flagged as an irregularity, meboa. In the no sano, na sikai bi akwa kodi contract ane hono because of that irregularity, what happens in that instance?
In fact, within the area of contracts, there are different versions. For example, we see instances where contracts are varied. It is an original contract, it is a 300,000 Ghana cedis. Na yako vary contract, ubemu na apidi abeye 700,000 Ghana cedis without any justification, without going through due processes. In such a case, clearly, the persons or the officers who superintended over that would have to be held accountable. But if it is the case, a contract was awarded and had to be varied, and the variation processes can be justified with documentation. Now, at the time of auditors, audit, and I say, exit conference, not the evidence, no MI, not the me at the evidence, ever. Now, a church said, also taught. In that case, even at the Public Accounts Committee, such infractions will be deemed to have been resolved. And it depends on the nature. And so it is much more nuanced. And yet,
yeah.
And I can tell you, I can give you one example. Or it's 2018, when we were doing our zonal tours.
Yes.
At Sunyani where we were doing zone 2, there was an accountant who could not provide PVs to justify expenditure. Sika o trepia ma nkofo. Obetna sia ye toto na no. Believe you me, and this is a true story. What he said was that at the time the auditors came, he could not find the file that contained the PV. But after they had left, one day he went to his office and I see the Bika said, "On share the cupboard echi. On share cupboard nechi no. Na e kura kakraka. Eti wa file no eda ekwenenim." Can you imagine? A rat apparently had taken the file away the whole time that the audit was being performed. For the audit to be concluded, for the report to be written, and then the magical and mystical rat suddenly returned the PVs. Unim, you don't want to the PVs that he claims had been taken by the rat and returned were PVs that were created, not the original PVs. So in such an instance, clearly that accountant was told to pay back those monies to government chest, which he had to do. And there are several very strange excuses. So mostly, because of the laxity in sanctioning,
yeah.
Into year in, year out, the problem keeps compounding. And unless we get to a stage where we all agree to apply sanctions severely with our fear or favor, I'm afraid to say every year, Ghana for Sika and the Beckham.
Now about applying sanctions now. For more in Parliament, I'm where the lawmaking chamber, no, mu role women at the park settings, no. Monsumu to me, Ebwa retrieve sikabi. And now
yeah, to me, pa. In fact, the interesting thing is that Dudwana, before they even appear before the Public Accounts Committee,
yes.
Now recommendations now auditors to pay back or to refund.
Now Juma.
You would see that they would go and pay and come to the committee with receipts.
Okay.
But also receipts now, you can see if not because of the Public Accounts Committee sittings now, they will not have paid. It is usually a lot of them are able to refund and pay back those monies. But that ought not to be the case in the first place.
Yeah, that's true. Meaning, but for the reports, and come first Kennedy free.
Yeah.
But it also means, then maybe sometimes, what we see in the report, and what happens before the Public Account Committee, it's our period, a lot can happen within that period. In the end, say who irregularity be in the report, even before it becomes a public document, na or more a perpetrator is irregularity, na be na I rectify all those anomalies, right? In the
there are some that they are able to rectify.
It will be 17 billion ABA report name, but ABA ne yetimi a claw back be 10 billion be even before the report becomes public. Is that possible?
Claw back, but you will not get 10 billion. The 10 billion, that is where the power to disallow and surcharge comes in.
Okay.
Because where we are talking about, millions. And I'll give you the classic example of the Kroll and Associate case, where the Auditor-General had indicted the office of the senior minister that, they couldn't provide evidence to justify work done. And yet Kroll and Associates was paid $100 million. And you remember that the office of the senior minister challenged that and went to court that issue had not been resolved before Domolovo was asked to leave. And you know what happened when the current Auditor General was appointed to take over in an acting capacity. Documents that were not there suddenly appeared, and the Auditor General wrote to the court exonerating the office of the senior minister. That is an issue for another time, but that left a sour taste in the mouths of many of us who have been in this business for long. And you know, it is both ways. If the Auditor General is prepared to activate these powers from the front end, even before the Public Accounts Committee holds its sittings. And he also has a role to play. And why he's not playing his role is the reason why we all are in a state of disbelief.
Yeah, narrative way so is in the public domain, sir. And because I was a member of the Public Account Committee, you know, sir, mostly, you know, for some of these audit reports, you know, omuji management response from the institutions they audit. Some management report be free in the response be free institutions, no, are they factored into the report? Yeah, but out no.
Yes, so the attorney says auditors in the bar. Depending on the size of the institution. Institution, especially accountants, directors, or if you like, spending officers. Now, what we call the exit conference. It's the exit conference now, and the purpose of the exit conference is for them to tell you their findings and what additional information are here through. It is to me additional information then they look at that and verify. If they are satisfied, then well and good. Now say one year satisfied when they go back, they will write to you, and that is what we call the management letter. And in that letter, they would itemize issue by issue by issue, point by point by point. And so that also gives you an opportunity to again try to find the evidence. Now with the amount. Now say when to me after that management letter, when to me any evidence now. Then a compile report. That then becomes the Auditor General's report, which is then laid, given to the Speaker, and then laid in Parliament. Now, Speaker, the Public Accounts Committee, so I am pro. Now, bisa, the entire we have procurement. I want the 3 quotations. And I say, your bread and the food was expired. And why did you dispose expired food items, in this case at a senior high school, without, inviting a representative of the FDA and other witnesses to verify, say, if you know, say I expire, and the correct say I expire. So this is the way the system works. So there are always at least 3 different opportunities to provide the needed evidence before the report is compiled. So if they want me to provide evidence now, then you cannot fault the auditors for keeping charges or, if you like, indicting you for various infractions. And I think that the public also ought to understand the way the processes work. And that is why earlier on, with regards to this auctioned vehicles to the judges.
Yeah.
If you read that portion of the report, the auditors have indicated that proper processes and procedures were not followed. Specifically, before the auctioning should have taken place,
Yes.
in Kawasa, the Ministry of Finance, and as a Minister for Finance, would to me, Emma Hukwine, and that did not happen. And because that did not happen, clearly it raises a lot of issues as to the propriety and whether or not the rate at which those vehicles were auctioned is commensurate with laid down rules and procedure.
No, I agree with you. My point, and I believe Omanhene shares in that opinion, and it's for me as a judge, for example, now ebia as part of my conditions of service, and when we say ebia kai de be mamino, after 4 years, if I'm interested, I can buy a part of my conditions of service. If I should activate that, na say mitimi eto car na later e ba say ebia process bia na e wasanka omo a e manage sa system no e follow man follow. Why should people single me, the judge, out and be demonizing me? And I think that was where we were coming from. Say, the systems we've created allow for certain things to happen. And when it happens, our discourse should be, how do we correct the system? And not obia or no, through no fault of his. System is part of the conditions. Now I benefit from that system, no? You put all the blame on that person. I think that's where we're coming from.
Yes, I get your point, but the beneficiaries are not innocent beneficiaries. Although it is a benefit available to them, they could have chosen not to take it. And so if their representatives fail to do the needful by ensuring that the right processes and procedures were followed, clearly you can also fault the auditors for calling them out in this matter. So whilst I also understand your point of view, they are judges. Ignorance of the law or the rules and the processes, it cannot be an excuse. Mm-hmm. And that is why the auditors cited them in this particular case.
No, my point was not about what the auditors have done. I think what the auditors have done, perfect. Unse Auditor-General'S report, it sparks a certain public conversation.
That is correct.
Invariably, so okay, conversation, as I monitor social media up until today, the conversation has been centered on, okay, let's put out the names of the judges and some people are demonizing them, some people virtually insulting them near there. That is where I found it a bit problematic. Of course, I understand, say, or more knowledge about processes, systems, laws, should be above board. And you cannot compare them to the ordinary Ghanaian. But I think to resolve this problem, we have to go back to the root cause. Demonizing the judges, might not necessarily, because another judge would also want to take advantage of the same system if it's created. And mind you, say, it's something politicians are allowed to do. I mean, we've heard stories of Amanfoa Atokars from Jubilee House, and ministries, parastatals, any other. Why should it be different when it comes to the judges?
I get your point.
Yes.
But truly, almost every institution, would you believe that even the Minister of Finance and Kasa has been cited? Iyoko has been cited.
Yeah.
Even the Attorney General's department. And I mean, it is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. And I cannot be convinced that those who are in charge and are standing officers in all of these institutions, they don't know the law or they don't know the rules or they don't understand the process and procedure. Some of it, I'm not saying all, is deliberate. Just to fleece public resources.
Sure.
Some of it is deliberate.
Sure. That's true. And I'm hoping, sir, now that the report is out, Park Moye ready to begin sittings, and let's see what happens. Of course, now Obi say Mimusa or say sometimes in sono say be a report never say. And is it also true? Mami clarity was a report never. Now ebia mo Park mo wie mo settings, mo prepare mo report, mo dia come speaker. Na say sa parliament ne tenure eso a, the new parliament ebeba no, they discard sa report, they don't go into it again. Is that true?
I don't think that is the case. because the Auditor General is a public servant.
Yes.
And he does his work on behalf of the people of Ghana. And just because one parliament comes to an end and another one begins, does not in any way prevent the work of the Public Accounts Committee to be given effect. We are now finishing 2019. I got 2 zones. Yabeko for zone 4. Now I call Chakradi for zone 5. Here we are. Then we will then begin for 2020. There is every indication that we may try to combine 2020 and 2021 because we have decided as a committee that we want to be able to catch up with real time.
Yeah.
At the in fear, be a trauma, 3-4 years backlog. No, we've been able to work our way closer to real time.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind, by default, there would always be a year time lag because the audit processes can only start after year ending 31st December. At any time, we will be behind by 1 year. But we are very determined to get to a stage where we can hold persons who have superintended or have deliberately overlooked or have chosen to engage in practices detrimental to the public interest. Now, so we are working towards that as a Public Accounts Committee.
Very well. Doc, my nase, Bibiania, Yabasia Babidin Komobio. There are some few messages anyway, some directly to you. We say, Obi, why allow Honorable Apaak to smear the current Auditor General? Are you saying the Auditor General lied to the court to exonerate the senior minister? Why do we allow people to play with our minds and cause disaffection for people in the name of politics? Nixon Ishen Ewo Tema. Doc.
I didn't say that. I didn't say he lied.
Okay.
I didn't use the word he lied. He can interpret what I said how he wants. That is his opinion. I disagreed with the processes. I didn't believe that case should have gone the way it did.
Okay.
But I don't have the power to have done otherwise.
Wait, sir. Ask, as it was Dr. Apaak in Ghana when Carl Wilson was in charge of auction vehicles from 2009. Does he remember what went on there to the extent that even, Wabu Obini bought a V8 Ford Expedition for just 6,000 Ghana cedis? What a selective amnesia. Dr. Dakwa, Washington, D.C. and Onodiwe Abreye. And there are a couple of messages here where you say, Obi, even in the private sector, when managers use their cars, after 5 years, it's sold back to them. So it's not new what has happened in the judiciary. People should stop wasting our time. William Sangmo, Ediwe Abreye.
But Obi.
Yes.
I am not the one who made the recommendation.
Absolutely.
It is the Auditor General. And people should not be taken on for speaking about what is in the Auditor General's report.
Yes.
Once the issue has come up and has been captured in the report, and the indication is that some processes were not followed, it is a clear issue for public discourse. And it shouldn't be as though it is Dr. Apaak who is trying to malign judges. Report, as somebody else said.
Yeah.
They say I'm trying to malign the Auditor General, who is the one who authored the report. I have my issues with him, but I have my issues with him in as far as my belief that he can do more than he's doing based on the outcome of his own work. And we shouldn't let it look as though people are attacking the judges. I've not attacked them. I'm only making a reference to what is contained in the report. And we leave it there.
Very well. Doc, my nurse, Bibiani, a Bessia in Comobio. Why? And Dr. Clement Apaak, or a member of the public